Moana is one of the best animated films Disney has ever made. The original 2016 movie is a masterpiece. The music, the story, just the heart of it. So when Disney announced a live action remake, my question was simple: why? We just had Moana 2 less than 2 years ago, and the original is still on Disney Plus right now, and yet here we are. I just saw it and it was not worth the popcorn. Let me tell you why. Welcome back to Moody at the Movies, and I'm your host, Mr. Moody. And this is the channel where I go see a movie in theaters and I immediately need to come back here and talk to you guys about it. I offer my honest, real reviews, real talk, no fluff, and I rank everything on my 5 scale popcorn bucket rating system. 5 being it's worth every kernel, and 1 being they burnt the popcorn. For today's review, we're reviewing the live action Disney remake of Moana, and I have a lot to say about it, so let's get right into it. First, let's talk about what worked. The best thing about this movie is Catherine Laga'aia as Moana. She is genuinely outstanding. She captures the spirit of Moana completely: the determination, the fire, the vulnerability, and she does it in her very first feature film. Her voice is incredible, and she carries every scene that she's in. She deserved a better film to debut in for her live action debut, but she absolutely shines in it. So Maui just abandoned Moana after they failed to get past Taka for the first time. Moana's completely alone on that ship. She's lost and scared, and she's just ready to give up. But then Gramma Tala appears in spirit in front of Moana on this ship. And on this ship, she reminds Moana of who she is and who she is supposed to become, and the power that is behind the name Moana. And just like the original Moana animated movie, this scene hit me because it's the heart of the entire story. And just Rena Owen as Gramma Tala was just phenomenal throughout the entirety of this movie. And just from the start, you could tell the chemistry between Moana and Gramma Tala through the screen. You can tell that these actresses just put their hearts into this film, and it really just showed. And it's unfortunate that the rest of the movie couldn't live up to what they were putting out there on the screen. Now that we talked about what did work, let's talk about what didn't work. And honestly, I have a lot to say, unfortunately. Now, the honest part. Let's talk about Dwayne Johnson as Maui. Maui is supposed to be the most charismatic, larger-than-life character in this movie. He's supposed to be funny, energetic, impossible to look away from. And unfortunately, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, even though he tried with his wig and prosthetics, it just didn't work for me at all. I know that Dwayne talked about wearing 40 pounds of wigs and prosthetics, but it just unfortunately didn't come to life on the screen. And I'm not saying that Maui as a live action couldn't work. I just don't think that he was the right person for this role on the live action scale. I'm not saying that Maui can't work in a live action scene. I'm just saying that this one didn't work in particular, and it's just really unfortunate. And then there's the "You're Welcome" scene. To be fair, the animated sequences they mix into the number are creative and colorful. That part is genuinely the most visually interesting thing in the whole movie, but the energy of the scene just doesn't match what the original does. In the animated version, that song is effortless. Here, it feels like it's working harder than it should. There's no spontaneity, and for the movie's biggest musical moment, that matters. For Dwayne Johnson to be the biggest star in this movie and have one of the biggest moments in this movie as well, it just didn't land the way it needed to. One of my other biggest issues with this movie is that just the visuals are all over the place. There are moments in this film, like the ocean scenes, that look visually stunning. They're vibrant, colorful, and they feel alive. And then 5 minutes later, you'll get to a scene and everything just seems flat, muted, and desaturated. Just honestly, just washed out. It becomes so inconsistent that it pulls you out of the film. You're like, wait, am I still watching the same movie? On one hand, it's the most beautiful scenes you've ever seen. And then a few minutes later, you're like, did someone turn the color down? In the original animated Moana movie, everything had a visual identity. Everything popped, it was vibrant, it was colorful. And in this movie, they try to replicate some of that. And in some areas, it was okay, but for the majority, they just couldn't nail it. This live action version of Moana just doesn't hold that standard consistently, and it just shows throughout the whole film. And the CGI had the same problem. It's wildly inconsistent. Some of it looks great, Taka looks solid, The water effects in certain moments are impressive, but then you get to scenes where the CGI looks noticeably unfinished, things that don't blend naturally with the live action around them. For a movie with this kind of Disney budget, that inconsistency is just hard to excuse. The Kakamura scene in particular looked dark and muddy, like it was hard to even tell what was happening on the screen. The original Moana made everything feel seamless, and here it's like you can feel the seams. Visually, this movie needed to be consistent from start to finish, and it just wasn't. Something else that really bugged me was that Moana and Maui had no real chemistry on screen. In the original animated movie, you really feel these two connect on the screen. They argue with each other, they annoy each other, but they slowly start to respect each other throughout the film, and that's what makes their bond so special and gives the whole dynamic in the original Moana movie. And in this live action movie, you don't feel it through the screen. You don't feel the connection between Moana and Maui. And for a lot of the shots in this movie, I noticed that you don't see Moana and Maui in the same shot a lot of the times. And when the two main characters aren't in the same shots, you really start to notice how it affects the entirety of the movie. The comedy moments don't land well, and the emotional moments don't hit as hard in this movie. And those are the two things that are supposed to carry you throughout the entirety of the story and just make you feel something. And unfortunately, it didn't work. And one of the final things that didn't work for me in this live action Moana movie is the final confrontation with Taka. The final battle with Taka, the fire demon, is supposed to be the peak of this entire movie, emotionally and visually. This is the moment everything has been building to, and I have to be real with you, it did not look good. The CGI in that final sequence is genuinely rough. For a Disney movie with this budget, that is a problem I was not expecting. The action is hard to follow, the visuals don't have the weight or the scale that they should. Nothing feels dangerous or urgent the way it needs to in a climax. Just the way Taka moves, the way Moana approaches her, the way of how Disney reveals who Taka really is. It's just one of the most beautifully crafted scenes in any Disney film, and you feel that through the screen. It's emotional and visually spectacular at the same time. And the live action didn't even get close to that. And when your ending doesn't land, it affects how the audience leaves the theater. It's the last thing you feel, and what I felt coming out of the theater was that this just could have been so much more. Here's what I kept coming back to the entire time I was in that theater. What is this movie for? The original animated Moana came out 10 years ago. It's still on Disney Plus right now. Moana 2 came out less than 2 years ago. And this live action version tells the exact same story, beat for beat, with no meaningful new additions. So the whole time I'm watching, I'm asking, what does this give me that the animated version doesn't already do better? And honestly, for most of this film, that answer is nothing. The story that Moana tells, ocean spirits, a shape-shifting demigod, fire demons, mythology, and magic, that is a story that animation was built for. Those things are believable and beautiful in animation. When you try to bring them into the live action, they still have to be CGI anyway. And CGI can't touch what animation does with those elements natively. The original Moana film is better, and it's not even close. If you were to ask me if you should go see the live action movie or go home and just watch the 2016 original, I would just tell you to go home. The live action Moana has real moments. Catherine Laga'aia is genuinely outstanding as Moana. The Gramma Tala scene is beautiful. The music, as always, hits. And those things are real. But as a complete experience, this is a copy of something that already exists and does it better. The visuals are inconsistent. The CGI lets you down exactly when you need it most. Maui's wig and prosthetics affected the performance. Moana and Maui never really find their chemistry on screen. And that climax with Taka, the moment this whole movie should have peaked, fell flat visually in a way that I did not expect from a movie at this budget level. For me, the live action Moana film gets a 2 out of 5 popcorn rating, and they just had a lot of unpopped kernels throughout this movie. If you're a big diehard Moana fan, Catherine Lagaaia will make this movie at least worth watchable for you. But if you're not, I'd honestly just wait for it to hit streaming services and watch it at home. Or just don't watch it at all and just watch the 2016 original animated version because that one's just much better. That's my honest take from the live action Moana film, and now I want to hear from you guys. Do you agree with me, or am I being too harsh? Drop your rating in the comment section below, or if you have any other opinions about this movie, leave them in there. I read every single comment and I just genuinely love engaging with you guys. If you're new here and you like this style of a review, honest, real, no fluff, hit subscribe. I post every single time something new comes out in theaters, and I immediately come back here to talk to you guys about it. All right, that's going to be it for my live action Moana review, and I appreciate you guys for watching and all of the support on all of my videos, and I'll see you at the movies.